And good evening. I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, bracing for Trump. We have exclusive details this hour into the preparations that are right now being made for Trump's first criminal trial starting in just 3 days. Cameras, drones, bomb-sniffing dogs, barricades. Federal and New York City officials have been calling on every resource they have for what will be an unprecedented several weeks. And in a moment, we're going to take you inside the NYPD's Joint Operations Center, where officials are combing over sensitive intelligence ahead of Trump's appearance in the courtroom. That courtroom will be one of the most secure rooms in all of New York. Inside, a former president and a jury of 12 men and women who will ultimately decide his guilt or innocence. And that jury may bail Trump out. And this is important to consider because you don't usually hear this part of it, but think about it this way. It is a criminal trial, and in that case, juries must be unanimous. So, putting it another way, one juror is enough to prevent a guilty verdict. So, you hear Trump complaining about can't get a fair trial in Manhattan. Well, actually, no, the odds may be in Trump's favor, just looking at the politics of it. Our Harry Enton crunched the numbers. Joe Biden won 87% of the vote in Manhattan in 2020. There are 12 jurors. So if you do the math, that means there's about an 80% chance that at least one juror of that 12 is friendly to Trump or is even a Trump supporter, assuming that that jury pool is reflective of Manhattan's electorate. And that one is all Trump needs, just one supporter to sink the government's case into a payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels just before the 2016 election. The whole trial is about whether that payment was made to influence the election. And tonight, Trump unleashed once again on the judge in the case.
I was recently informed that another corrupt New York judge, Juan Merchan, gagged me. That's gagged like you can't talk. But he gagged me with respect to a case that everyone, including the DA, felt should never have been brought. This judge should be recused and the case should be thrown out. He's totally conflicted. There's never been a judge more conflicted than this one. There has virtually never been anything like it.
Of course, he can say all those things, and the judge, as a judge should, remains quiet and above it. Bryn Gingras is outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, where jury selection will begin on Monday morning. And Bryn, you have done extensive reporting here. What are you learning from your sources about the security preparations underway for this unprecedented moment?
Yeah, Erin, it will be a robust security package, is how it's continually described to us. It's one that has been practiced and discussed for the last couple of months. Now, listen, this courthouse here behind me, it handles hundreds of cases daily, but this is a trial like no other. It's expected to last 6 to 8 weeks. So law enforcement really on a state, local, and federal level needs to have this delicate balance of protecting the public, the former president, while also allowing business as usual.
The crush of media, protesters and supporters, and the complicated task of protecting the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, who is also the defendant.
This whole area is going to look very different come Monday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the area, Bryn, is going to be frozen, for the arrival of the ex-president.
Outside Manhattan Criminal Court, this is where Donald Trump's trial kicks off Monday. Police are preparing for what even they describe as an unprecedented several weeks.
Is there any difference from your standpoint on the ground now that Trump is the presumptive nominee rather than a past president?
Well, that's why I'm saying we're obviously going to ratchet it up.
That means the building will be wrapped in a security blanket of cameras, uniformed officers, drones, bomb-sniffing dogs, and barricades.
This is just a small sample of what's available.
CNN was given a look inside the NYPD's Joint Operations Center, an intelligence and visual hub for the NYPD and its law enforcement partners.
It's a big challenge. It's a lot of moving parts. The attention of the nation and often the world will be on New York City for this entire event.
This is the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president in history. But Donald Trump has been in and out of courtrooms for the past year.
This really is just a continuation of what occurred when he was on the civil trials.
Giving law enforcement a head start on how to prepare and what to expect. It includes being nimble and responding to immediate threats.
We got word of that bomb threat this morning.
Since Trump's indictments, law enforcement says threats against judges, district attorneys, and others have become almost expected.
We're going to be looking at the threat picture on a constant basis. Social media, scrubbing, just listening to people making calls or making threats online.
How do you handle that?
We want to find the basis of the threat. Is it real? Is it an online warrior? Is it, what kind of extra security preparations do we have to take?
It includes also protecting jurors. We're told those picked could possibly be treated the same as jurors in Trump's civil trial against E. Jean Carroll. They may be driven in daily from a secret location for their safety. And moving Trump, who likely will spend most of his nights at Trump Tower, will be a calculated choreography between the NYPD and Secret Service, who have triggered more robust security plans.
Is this unprecedented? Yeah, it is. And that's why we've ratcheted it up to make sure that everything goes off without a hitch and everybody goes home safe.
All right, let me take you inside the courthouse to that 15th floor. That's where the trial is going to take place. It's going to be shut down to the general public come Monday. The elevator the former president uses will also be frozen. Inside that courtroom, Trump will sit at the defense table. Behind him will be Secret Service. And in addition to that, there will also be court officers sitting in pews to create a protective barrier between Trump and the general public. Aaron.
It's really incredible to think about it. All right, thank you so much, Bryn, with all that reporting. Let's go now to our legal analysts, Ryan Goodman and Mark O'Mara, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. So thanks so much to both of you. Ryan, you hear Bryn and the massive security, all this reporting that she has done. And on Monday, you've got 500 jurors who are going to parade in like they do every Monday. But they're going to go through all of this, right? They're going to be well aware of this moment that they are walking into. Does that have an impact?
I think it must. It's just the gravity of the situation, the enormity of the situation, that it, I would think, impresses upon them the historical moment, and that if they do end up serving on the jury, that they have a task to perform of applying the law to the facts. And it's such a more solemn experience, and the fact of this security presence, I think, gives them an even deeper sense of it, that one hopes that then they perform their duties as they're supposed to as jurors, as fact-finders.
So Mark, in the 500 that are going to walk in, right, you're only going to end up with 12 ultimately who are going to be the decision makers. And you have been involved with so many jury selections in high-profile, high-stakes criminal cases. Trump's team, their goal, right, is to get at least one person on that jury. Just one is all they need, right, to raise a question. And I just shared Harry Enton's math. Just, if you're going to say that these decisions are made on politics, which of course Ryan is saying we all hope that they aren't, that people are going to do their duty as citizens. But even looking at it from that perspective, on Manhattan voter rolls, you've got an 80% chance that there will be one juror on that panel who will be a Trump supporter or favorable to Trump. So what is the defense looking for? How difficult is this going to be for them?
Well, actually, I think it's going to be quite easy for the defense from that perspective, because you're right. They have to get somebody on that panel. And we as defense attorneys don't like talking about moving for a hung jury, right? We want an acquittal. But the harsh reality is, the political harsh reality is, he does not want a conviction before the election. And a hung jury will put this case off another couple or 3 months, potentially. So yes, the defense team is going to be looking for that sympathy jury. That's somebody who is willing to listen to Trump, willing to like Trump before they even walk into a courtroom. And you're right, 20% of the people, even in Manhattan, like him. But nationwide, we know there's a greater percentage of people that have a sympathy or an empathy for Trump. And that's what they're going to be playing towards.
And Ryan, in that context, Trump posts that video today. I played a clip of it, railing against the gag order from the judge, which it may be surprising to a lot of people watching. It was to me. He's allowed to do that. Yeah. The gag order actually is saying you can't intimidate witnesses, and you can't do that to family members of the judge. But the judge himself is not included in that. So we're going to see a lot more of this, right? We're going to see a lot more of this as he tries to, inject this uncertainty and poison into the atmosphere around this judge. So the jury's been told not to watch. There's no jury in New York. There's no one who hasn't turned on local news or something and seen some part of this. How do you get around that?
It's very difficult to get around it. Almost, another example is just being a New Yorker, getting in the back seat of a taxi that starts out with television news, local news, and right. This is going to be the biggest news around.
And it's going to be the jury selection in the Trump criminal trial, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also jurors have families, and jurors have friends and colleagues, and this will be a part of the information environment in which everybody is kind of stewing. So the idea that these kinds of statements by former President Trump don't reach the jurors one way or another is hard to believe. And that might, in fact, be part of his strategy, or his strategy might be just the general public, but this is an indirect effect.
It certainly is. I mean, Mark, I know you believe that Trump's team could actually play into the comments that he's been making about the judge to help him at the trial. Walk us through that.
So I think they have to, and they have such great environment within which to do it. Because look, either he is an arrogant person who's ignoring the law and the processes, or he is so innocent and he is so upset with being falsely accused that he has to present himself like that. And quite honestly, if you look at it through that lens, then the defense can lean into it, right? They can say, to the extent you've heard him, because let's face it, as was just said, there is nobody in this panel who has not heard about this case, and for that matter, has not made some predisposition about it. We're not trying to get people who haven't heard. They've been hiding in a corner somewhere, but we want people who will acknowledge what they've heard about it. And the defense can play into that by saying, you've heard my client, you've heard him complain about the process, you've heard him complain about the judge. Are you okay with somebody who believes he is so innocent that he has to speak out? What a great defense question to present.
And I'm glad we have you, because you get a real insight into their worldview, because you've done these crucial defense cases. Thanks very much to both of you.